Shrita.
Now we'll read padas. Moghasha mogha karmano.
Moghasha mogha karmano.
Mogha jnana vichetasa.
Mogha vichetashaha.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Prakritim mohinim shata.
Prakritim mohinim shata.
Moghasha mogha karmano.
Moghasha mogha karmano.
Mogha jnana vichetasa.
Mogha jnana vichetashaha.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Rakshashim asurim chaiva.
Prakritim mohinim shata.
Prakritim mohinim shata.
Prabhuji, if someone can chant.
Mogasha moga karmano.
Moghasha mogha karmano.
Moga jnana vichetashaha.
Mogha jnana vichetasa.
Rakshim ashrim chaiva.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Prakritim mohinim shita.
Prakritim mohinim shata. Next person.
Any Prabhuji want to go?
Jayaprakash Prabhu.
Mogasha moha karmano.
Moghasha
moga
mogha karmano.
Moga jnana vichesha.
Moga
Mogha
jnana
jnana
vichetashaha.
vichetasa.
Rakshami asuram chaiva.
Rakshasim
Ashuram
asurim
chaiva.
chaiva.
Prakritam mohimastita.
Prakritim
Mohinim
mohinim
shata.
shita.
Any other Prabhujis? Yeah. Matajis.
Moghasha mogha karmano.
Moghasha
Moga
mogha karmano.
karmano.
Mogha jnana vichetasa.
Moga
Mogha
jnana
jnana
vichetashaha.
vichetasa.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Prakritim mohinim shrita.
Prakritim mohinim shita. Any other Matajis? See, Savita Mataji. Maybe Anika Mataji or Julie Mataji. Okay. Hare Krishna. Proceed. Okay, we'll read the synonyms, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Moghasha, baffled in their hopes.
Moghasha, baffled in their hopes.
In their hopes.
Mogha karman, baffled
Mogha
in
karmano.
Mogha karmano.
Karmana.
Battle.
That is
baffled in fruitive activities.
baffled in
Baffled in fruitive activities.
Mogha jnana,
Mogha jnana.
Mogha jnana.
baffled in knowledge.
Baffled in
Baffled
knowledge.
in knowledge.
Knowledge.
Vichetasa, bewildered.
Vichitsa.
Vichetashaha, bewildered.
Rakshasim, demoniac.
Rakshasya.
Rakshashim,
Demonic.
demonic.
Asurim, atheistic.
Asurim,
Atheistic.
atheistic.
Cha, and.
Cha.
Cha, and.
Eva, certainly.
Eva,
Certainly.
Prakritim, nature.
Prakriti, nature.
nature.
Mohinim, bewildering.
Mohini, bewildering.
Shrita, taking shelter of.
Shrita, taking shelter of.
shelter of.
Translation. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Please repeat. Those who are thus
Those who are thus
bewildered
bewildered
are attracted by
are
Are
attracted by
attracted by
demonic and atheistic views.
demonic
demonic
and
and
atheistic
atheistic
views.
views.
In that deluded condition,
In
In
that
that
deluded
delicate
condition,
condition,
their hopes for liberation,
their
their
hopes for
hopes for
liberation,
liberation,
their fruitive activities,
their
their
fruitive
fruitive
activities,
activity,
and their culture of knowledge
and
And
their
and
culture
their
of
culture of
knowledge
knowledge
are all defeated.
are all defeated.
Dash la Prabhupada. We'll read purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be Krishna consciousness, to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic or atheistic. As described in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of knowledge in the Vedic literature, like the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishad, is always baffled. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. The Brihad Vishnu Smriti clearly states, Yo veti bhautikam deham Krishnasya paramatmana sa saraswamad sa sarvasmad bahiskarya shratau smrta vidhanata Mukham tasyad avalokyapi sachelam snanam acharet. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of Shruti and the Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in Ganges to rid himself of infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of Supreme Personality of God. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demonic life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest reason of creation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapad Kamalam Shri Gun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विकबानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वांचा कल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्यम प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। First of all, please accept my humble obeisances to your lotus feet. This assembly of Vaishnavas, please, I seek your blessings so that I can say something which adds some value to this hour. I also seek blessing of His Grace Simeshwar Prabhu for giving me this opportunity and blessing me so that I can purify my heart, do some Shastra reading and meditate upon the lotus feet of Krishna. At the beginning, we do this Mangalacharan, and the only purpose of Mangalacharan is that we seek the blessings and we say our gratitude to the acharyas so that it's clarified that it's not me who is going to speak. It's the empowerment of the acharyas which is making me say something. Yeah. Also, there's a great detail about the Mangalacharan, but there are a few parts of Mangalacharan. So one is, of course, the seeking the blessings. Another is that when we do something, what do we get? Okay, that also is generally said. And Prabhupada has established this culture that we say few verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. And then in that, one of the lines is, after we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then we say Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Naruttam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire. And then once we do that, we say Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. So what happens is all the problems of in our heart, Abhadreshu, all the inauspiciousness is Nashta Prayeshu, immediately, is Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. By reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam, that gets eliminated. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke and Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Bhaktir Bhavati, and then there'll be seed of bhakti stored in our heart, nest ki, there is no sansaya, there is no doubt about that. So that's another blessing which is chanted at the beginning of Mangalacharan. So one is seeking the blessing, and then other is this blessing part. What do we get? What is the pratifal of reading? Now, coming back to this verse, this is the most confidential knowledge Krishna is giving. This 9th chapter, it's like cream of the cream of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is, we have heard many times in the past, that Bhagavad Gita is in 3 parts divided: 1st to 6th chapters, then 7th to 12th, and then 13th to 18th. And then the bhakti is mentioned in the middle, just like in the sandwich. The main part of the sandwich on the top and the bottom is the covering, and the main part of the sandwich is right in the center. So just like that, this particular chapter is. And even on top of that, this is the most confidential knowledge. Why this is most confidential knowledge? Because it is bhakti. Okay? And Krishna says right at the first verse that it can only be understood by person who is non-envious to Krishna. Okay? Now, the previous verse 9.11 was actually talking about what kind of people are envious. Okay, how people are envious, and that's avajananti mam muda manushim tanu mashritam, param bhava jananto mama bhuta maheshwara. So avajananti mam muda manushim tanu mashritam. When I take birth, Krishna is saying, when I take birth in the form of a human, mudha, those who do not know, who are the mudha? Mudha is fools. In simple layman terms, mudha means fool. So manushim tanum ashritam, avajananti ma. They do not know me, and they think that I am under the spell of this prakriti is the main thing, and I am under the spell of this prakriti 3 gunas. Okay, so that's like impersonal, impersonalist. Okay? And acharyas explain that even impersonalists are of 2 types. One are Brahmavadis, and then second one are Mayavadis. So we'll discuss about those 2. Then what's the difference between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi? Okay. So let's start by understanding this verse. This verse is starting by Moghasha. Moghasha means Moghasha. Actually, it's made of 2 words. If we do Sandhi Vichhed of Moghasha, Mogha and Asha. Mogha means Prabhupada is here translating it as baffled. Okay, it also means unsuccessful. Okay, for example, we have heard this term Amogha. Amogha is the name of it's a name given to Vinayaka, Lord Ganesha, because he is the one who removes all the inauspiciousness, all the problems in the path of success. Okay, we also chant Namaste Narsimhaya. That is to remove all the inauspiciousness in the path of bhakti. Okay, so that's why Lord Ganesha's name is, another name of Lord Ganesha is Amogha. Another reference of Amogha is in Sri Ramcharitmanas, that when Hanumanji he took off from the bank of ocean to go to Lanka. So Tulasidas ji is writing, Jimmy Amogh Raghupati Karvana te baat chale Hanumana. Just like that, the Sri Ramchandra ji's arrow is not going to be unsuccessful. Just like that, Hanumanji's is going. Okay. Another reference comes when Bibhishan comes to meet Lord Ramchandraji. So Lord Ramchandraji is saying, Jadapi tatatav iksha nahi, more daras amog jagmahi, amog jagmahi. He's saying that, oh Vibhishan, I know that you do not have any desire in your heart, but my darshan, my audiences cannot go unsuccessful. Once you come in front of me, there has to be some success. And by saying that, he calls him Lankesh. He gives him the entire wealth of Sri Lanka, entire wealth of Lanka. So that's Amogha. Okay. So Mogha means unsuccessful, being unsuccessful. Even in even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is using a Mogha in verse number 3.16. He's saying, Aghayur Indriya Ramo Mogha Partham Sajivati. Aghayur Indriya Ramo, full of sin, and Indriya Ramo, just trying to make the sense gratification as the aim of life. Mogha Partha Sajivati. Mogha means unsuccessful life such people are living. O Partha, Krishna is saying. Aghayur Indriya Ramo Mogha Partha Sajivati. So that's how we understand. So now, if we look at it, Moga Asha. Asha means hopes. Hopes of, Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that getting out of this entanglement of this problems of life. That's Moga Asha. And there are three things here Krishna is counting: Asha, Karmana, and Jnana. Means we are actually in the hopes of liberation, in the hopes of Jnana, knowledge, and then in the hopes of making the good life, Karmana. And we can be actually trying to do that by following, either Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga, whatever path. Krishna has already explained those paths. But we will actually not be successful. That plan will be crushed, and defeated. Why? Because vichetasa. We are bewildered. And how we are bewildered? Because the previous verse, that we are thinking about Avajananti Mamudha Manushim Tanumashritam. When Krishna's form is being rejected, and that's why it is vichetasa, bewilderment. And then what happens when we do that? Then our plans are cancelled, our plans are crushed, defeated, and then what do we do? Rakshasim. And why we are doing? Because we are under the spell of we are taking the shelter of the bewildering, Rakshasim, Asurim. Rakshasim is demoniac, Asurim is atheistic, the one non-believing in God. And Prakritim Mohinim, the Prakritim is the nature, it's the energy of Krishna actually. Okay. And Mohinim, the one which is bewildering. Now, question may arise that why Krishna's energy is bewildering. Okay. So we know that there are two energies of Krishna, Maya and Yoga Maya. Okay. So Maya is the bewildering energy of Krishna, and it is actually taking us away from from Krishna. We read this in Srimad Bhagavatam's 3rd canto, that at the beginning of creation, when Lord Brahma is starting the creation, the first thing which he does is he creates this 5 elements, five things. And then what are those? Those are That's Maya, Mahamaya, no, uh, actually no, Moha, Mahamoha, and so there are other three which he creates, and the entire purpose of those things is that he's actually trying to those are the things which will create the kill the knowledge, like moha is what? Bewilderment, that we are not this body, we are the uh, we are not the soul, we are this body. That's the moha, illusionment. Okay, then second one he creates is mahamoha. That's the one where we actually can understand that, oh, we can derive some pleasure from this material world. Okay, then he's creating this false ego, that we can actually not that he's creating false ego. Yeah, he's actually creating the element which will actually help us forget that we are this soul, and then you know attach us with the body. Okay, and then fear of death is creating the fear of death. Uh, so these, now what is that? Because the true nature of soul is that uh, जीवेर स्वरूप होय nitya krishna das. Okay, and it's actually Sachidanand. It's always, ever existing, and then always in bliss, and then uh, and it is not, it is ever existing. But if we have that understanding, then we will never be bewildered. But we are, because we are coming into the material world, and the reason for coming into material world is enviousness with Krishna. And that's what was in the previous verse 9.11, that manu avajananti mamudha manushim tanum ashritam. So we are actually thinking that Krishna's form is false. Okay, and that's the real cause. And because of that, all these plans are getting crushed. Okay, now Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also explains that I can maybe read, this is a wonderful paragraph here. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that if one is practicing Ashtanga Yoga for liberation, or if one is practicing Karma Kanda rituals for material well-being, or if one is practicing Jnana Yoga for knowledge and Brahman realization, all these aspirations will be crushed if he misunderstands Krishna's form to be material. No success is awarded for those refusing to accept Krishna's transcendental form. So there is no success at all, no matter what we are doing, whatever auspicious activities we are doing. If we think that Krishna's form is not real, that's a biggest sin. Okay, and that's where I was mentioning these two types of impersonalists, Mayavadis and Brahmavadis. So Brahmavadis are those who actually take Krishna's effulgence as the main thing, but they're not adverse towards Krishna's form. Okay, example of Brahmavadi is like Shukadev Goswami, who was earlier a Brahmavadi, and then he became a pure Bhakta devotee after listening Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva. So we can see here that even from being a Brahmavadi, one can become Krishna consciousness. Okay, because this person is not against the form of Krishna. But Mayavad is different. Mayavad means that what Prabhupada is saying here, that they think that, okay, after liberation, this material body, there's no difference between God and himself. Also these Mayavadis think that, even Krishna, when he is actually in this material world, he is under the spell of these gunas, mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. He is under the spell of that. And if we are not careful, even Brahma gets bewildered by this. So we know this Brahma Vimohan Leela, where when Krishna killed Aghasura, after that Lord Brahma saw Krishna and he was bewildered that who is this boy? It's so powerful. Okay, and then he stole all the cows, calves, and all the calves, and then all the kids, not cows, because Krishna and his Gopa friends will herd the calves. Yeah, so that's the difference. Okay, it's so much so that here Prabhupada is saying, he's quoting the Brihad Vishnu Smriti, verse from the Brihad Vishnu Smriti, and what he's saying is, Yo veti bhautikam deham. Yo veti, those who consider, veti means consider or know, bhautikam means this material, no, bhautikam. We also call it as, bhautik jagat means material world. That's the Sanskrit word. Deham means this body. Krishnaya Paramatmana, that super soul Krishna. Those who consider Krishna's body as bhautikam, no, bhautikam deham. Sa sarvaswamad, bahiskarya, means that person should be actually bahiskarya karna means moving out from the community, or moving out from something, or removing something, neglecting something. That's called bahiskaryam, not accepting somebody. Bahiskrit karna means not accepting something. So that person should be removed from, or non-cooperated with, not mingled with, neglected with. Shrutau smritau vidhanata. Vidhanata means vidhi. Vidhi means the rules, regulative principles, regulations of Shruti and Smriti. All the regulative karma kanda, everything which is mentioned, that person should not be actually allowed to participate. So much so that mukham means the face, tasya vilokyapi. Vilokya means seeing. So if you're seeing that person's face, sachelam snanam achare, you have to go, you have incurred sin, and you have to snana means take bath, achare. You have to take bath in the holy river of Ganga to get rid of that sin. So now the question may arise that, so is that the case? Then what happens if I have a friend who is visiting and he is Mayavadi? What kind of bahiskar is being asked? So should we draw all the boundary? We are going every day in office, in our talking to our family, friends, other neighbors, and then some of them may be of this view. So is it practical? So it's explained by, we have to understand that these things has to be applied with time, place, and circumstances in mind. But what we have to keep in mind is that we are actually not engaging in the discussion of Krishna Katha. Okay, of course we have to understand, depending on that, whether that person is receptive or not. Because if we start discussing Krishna Katha and then this person is offensive toward Krishna, we are not doing good to this person. Right? This person is because incurring more sins. So we're doing two level harm. First is that we are restraining our relationship, and second one is this person is actually incurring more sins towards Krishna, and we are not doing good. So we have to understand and then apply. So what here means is that this person is actually here Prabhupada is using a very wonderful word, infection, because this is a kind of infection which has to be. So we all are living in the COVID-19 situation, so we all understand what's infection, and then those who are infected are to be quarantined. Okay, that's what this verse is also talking about, that those who are spiritually infected and are adverse towards Krishna, and how that they are yo veti bhautikam deham krishnasya paramatmana. They are considering the body of Krishna as bhautika. Just like the previous verse 9.1, aujananti mamuda manushim de. So that's the main thing, that we actually are not. So those who are infected are not considering Krishna's body as the spiritual or transcendental, thinking that, oh, this is a real. He's just like a normal human being, but Krishna's body is not like our. It's Satchidananda Vigraha. He's actually, who is he? Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvara, Ishvara means controller. There are many types of controllers, and they all are considered as Ishvara, or different category of controllers. Okay, we all, in fact, are. Prabhupada explains that we all are Ishwaras in some context, because we all have some kind of riches. Okay, and those who are the possessor of riches are controlling that riches. So that's why, to certain degree, everything is controller. Everything, everybody, even a honeybee is controller of it's the honey it's producing. Everybody, all the jivas are in some degree they are controllers. But Ishvara Parama means the topmost. Param Jnana, we say that Param Jnana means the topmost knowledge. So similarly, we also say Paramartha. Paramartha means the Artha means Artha means some kind of dhan, some kind of richness. And Paramartha, we actually, that goes as synonyms. The Paramartha means helping somebody out. And then that's considered as, that's the Paramartha, because it's the topmost Artha, topmost richness. So similarly, Parameshwara, who is the Ishvara Parama? Parama means the topmost Ishvara. Who is that? Krishna. The controller of all the controllers is Krishna. And Satchidanand Vigraha. And his form is Satchidanand. His form is not made of the form like ours. It's the form which is Sat means ever existing. Such. Chit means conscious, full of conscious. And Ananda, full of knowledge, bliss, Satchidananda, Vigraha, his form. Anadir means Adir, who does not have the beginning or the end. Adir, Govinda, the one who is giving pleasure to the senses. Okay, Govinda. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Everything. For example, we hear mainly around, a Big Bang theory. Scientists explain that how did the world start? By a Big Bang. And what caused that Big Bang? Nobody knows. Okay. But Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely explains that it is the Krishna, Mahavishnu, who is starting this material. Okay. So he is the Sarva Karana Karan. And that's why those who are infected by this this disease, that Krishna's body is just like our body, we have to put them in quarantine. Put them in quarantine in the sense that we have to keep this time, place, and circumstances in mind, and try to avoid discussion of Krishna Katha, serve some prasadam. That's it. And then pray for them. That's, depending on the relationship we have. Okay. So that's the main important point which I highlighted to, which I wanted to highlight, that what Krishna is saying here is that Moghasha, Mogh Karmano, Mogh Jnana Vichetsa, those who are bewildered, all their plans of, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, all that will be, that will fail. Why? Because they are Vichetasa, they are bewildered. And what's their bewilderment? That they consider me to be like a simple person. Avjananti mamuda manushim tanumashita. Whenever I take birth in this human form, they don't know. They think that I am I am an ordinary human being. Okay? So with that, I would like to stop here and see if there are any reflections, corrections, or a point somebody wants to share. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Lord Pranam, or Gosha Srila Prabhupada.
Just like that.
Thank you so much for a wonderful class. It's very nice. Thank you, dear devotees. Any reflections, questions, comments, concerns? Please go ahead. Let's have some discussions. Anybody has anything to add? Any questions? Seems like everybody is convinced.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, then do it. Or Gosha Srila Prabhupada. Let's go.
Very nice class, Prabhuji, and very nice lecture. And I think something that I had to hear today. So just wanted to share some experience that I had today. So before 2 weeks or so, we had visited Houston, Texas, and we visited the temple. So along with us, we had a team of, we went for my son's cricket tournament, and then we had other parents as well. So we had some time, so I wanted to visit ISKCON temple over there. So we went there. So the mothers came, and it was good. They loved the darshan, they loved the prasadam, and since it was Gita Jayanti, they distributed Bhagavad Gita to everybody. So they gave Gita to even the parents who were with me. They liked it, they appreciated it at that time, and it was all good. But today she called me, like one of the parents, and she said that ever since she said that, can I give you the Bhagavad Gita back? And I was like, what happened? Why you want to give it back? Because it was a kind of a prashadam. It's good to have Bhagavad Gita at home. And she said, no, it seems like she believed that ever since it came, they actually got infected with COVID, and, few things happened. And so she was like, she must have checked with her mom in India, and her mom said that, no, it's not good to keep Gita at home, so unless you worship it or something. And so now she got a firm belief that, it's not good to have Bhagavad Gita at home. So I mean, she is God believer. It's not that she's an atheist or something, but she believes in like other demigods and all. So I was like, don't give it to anybody, but if you don't disrespect it. I mean, I can give it. You can just give it to me if you feel okay. I mean, but I was feeling very bad that it's kind of not good, and it's an insult to Bhagavad Gita. So I was like, don't do it. And so how do we approach these kind of situations, Prabhu? I mean, I didn't preach anything, or I didn't say anything, because I didn't find that she's very close that I can preach, or she would, at this moment, she wouldn't understand what if I preached also. So, I mean, since today's lecture was something like that, right? That if there's Mayavad or something, we just pray for them and wish well rather than preaching. So how do we kind of address this problem?
Yeah, very very tricky situation, Mataji.
Yeah.
First part we have to understand is that start appreciating that how fortunate we are that we got into this sangha, and then we our situation and our family and our mind, our ahankara is allowing us to sit through, because it's not a easy thing to get. Krishna, this is being said here, right? This chapter's title is that the most confidential knowledge. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes the knowledge and remembrance and apohanam. Apohanam means the forgetfulness as well. So it's Krishna who is so it's not ordinary to come in contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Okay? That's one part. Now, how you deal with this situation, Mataji, is something which I would do if the other family is not at all ready to take that Bhagavad Gita, then it's okay, take back and then feed some prasadam, give some prasadam. Prasadam has very big potency, Mataji. When Vidur Maharaj tried to convince Dhritarashtra, he actually didn't listen to him before the war, but after the war has happened, and then he has been actually eating on some prasadam offered by Pandavas under their shelter when he has been living. And then after that, when Mahatma Vidur comes to convince Dhritarashtra, he immediately listens, so much so that they leave in the middle of the night, not waiting to inform Pandavas. So prasadam has big potency, Mataji, and that's where I'll start if I was in your position, and take the Bhagavad Gita back. I'm thinking that probably it's not the right time, but that's something which I think maybe over to Simesha Prabhu to see what he thinks. We have what to do in this situation.
Yes, there are certain situations like that. Some people, they don't value because of, it's mentioned that is their misfortune because of all the ignorance. They don't have proper understanding. They think that Bhagavad Gita, if we bring it at home, because of Bhagavad Gita's presence, is all COVID is happening. Many people are on sentimental, and they don't really understand. Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can take it back because they don't have faith anyway in Bhagavad Gita or Krishna. So there's no point. And even if it is there, I don't think so. They will open it up because they have now that fear or afraid. They'll start to read anyway. So take it back and give it to others. So the general concept is actually, yes, we should distribute Bhagavad Gita. There are so many people are benefited just because of the faith which we developed, and because of Bhagavad Gita, so many lives changed, transformed. So it's very, very important that we should distribute Bhagavad Gita, but there are exceptions like that. And some people's belief is that if we keep Bhagavad Gita at the home, there'll be fight because of Bhagavad Gita is spoken in the battle of Kurukshetra. And if we keep Bhagavad Gita at the home, there will be fight between, within the home. There are so many misconceptions about Bhagavad Gita, and even, many people, even they are afraid of even bringing Bhagavatam at the home, bringing, altar, keeping the deities at home. I was hearing, in the Bhagavatam class on Sundays, one Mataji was saying that their parents were very much utter against, especially when we have an initiation, we put the names of Krishna to the devotees. So these parents were very much against to give the names to, the Krishna's name or Achyuta, Govinda, Gopala, Vasudeva to their children, because of they say, we may not be right to do that, or they may get some kind of, they may offend, or they may get some kind of, they may sin and they get some kind of problem, if you do like that. So, but they don't understand, if we keep the names, if we Krishna in the center, they will relieve from all their problems. They think on the other way around. Yeah, this is because of they don't really believe in Krishna. They just go, yes, demigods, and they, do all the other things like karmic worship. So that, but it's unfortunate, but we should not, stop that because of these exceptions. One cases here and there, we should definitely, because of it changed the world, Bhagavad Gita. So that's what is we need to keep always.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Anything to add?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I just want to add a couple of points here based on my experience.
Please.
So actually it happened with me, and I was not on the giving side, I was on the receiving side of it. So a few years ago, I went to a fair, and some ISKCON devotees were distributing Bhagavad Gita. And I said, no, I don't want it. They said, take it, Mataji, it's good for you. Just keep it, you don't have to read it. And I said, no, I don't want, because if I take it, and I know I won't be able to do due justice. It's a holy book. I won't be able to take care, and I don't want to take that test. I don't want to take this book because I know I'm not going to read. I'm not that religious or spiritual. I've never read any spiritual book in life, and I don't think I'll read ever. And I denied it totally. And they said, no, Mataji, please take it. And I said, no, I know that I won't be able to respect, or I mean, this book will just lie around in my home somewhere and I won't like it. So better I don't take it. I didn't take the book. And then a few years later, I just attended the Bhagavad Gita sessions, and I just, I got into it, and now I'm fully convinced that Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I feel it. And then But I don't think that I was. I mean, obviously, I was stupid at that time. But what I feel was, I think that was the sukriti that I got. The fact that the devotees, they were giving it to me. I holded it in my hand, and then I returned it. Though I didn't. I mean, it was my misfortune that I didn't take it that time. But I think the fact that I holded the book in my hand created some kind of sukriti, and that today I'm here attending classes every day, morning and evening. So that, I think that is my good fortune, and it got triggered because of that and few other events that happened in the past. So I think, Mataji, your friend who called you and she said she wanted to return the book, today she's returning it, but definitely you have triggered the sukriti, and she will definitely come to Krishna's shelter sooner or later. So that was my realization, Prabhuji.
Wonderful, wonderful, amazing. Exactly. You have the point. You got it. It will transform even just the presence of Bhagavad Gita, just touch of the Bhagavad Gita. You just said it very accurately. Some point of
Yeah.
time, someone in their lives, it will make the difference.
I think in Srila Prabhupada in Lilamrita, he mentioned the devotees who are doing their book distribution. He used to say that just go distribute. Even if the person holding the book in your hand and returned it, you have done your job.
Yeah.
So you haven't failed. You have done your job. So that
You
is,
should,
I think.
you
Yeah.
should come for the book distribution, Madaji. You got it. You have the right
Pray for it,
understanding.
Prabhuji. Let it happen someday or the
So
other.
wonderful. So wonderful. That is exactly, yes. That's a wonderful thing. And this is the way, just by association of devotees, just by touching the Bhagavad Gita, the Sugurdi begins. Their life changes. So many examples out there. So many, people, so many devotees got their feelings and experiences just by this, keeping the Bhagavad Gita at the home after 20 years, 25 years, they all become devotees. Why? So there is a potency. There's a potency. So wonderful. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? This related to today's discussion, today's class. You should have some questions after every lecture.
If no one else, I have a question, Prabhuji. It's little off topic. Because Tanan Prabhu is there, you're there. Just I see Subal Prabhu is there. So, question is, Prabhuji, on in Srimad Bhagavatam, when I was reading, when Lord Brahma is creating Rudra, he mentions that they are attacking Lord Brahma. Rudra's progenies are attacking Lord Brahma. So far, so that they are also attacking Lord Rudra, Lord Shiva, and planning to kill. So I was wondering, what's this pastime, and then how were they stopped? Do you know if there's any reference, any points? That will be great. This really got me curious.
There are in the Bhagavatam later, we will see that they were, as soon as they have been all created, they expanded from the Shiva and the Rudras. There are so many Rudras. Not really just 11, there are millions of. They became so, they were so anxious and angry, and they were so much agitated, and because of they are in such a mood of devastation, that's their nature. So they started to dance, that's called Tandava Narta, and they, start to attack each other. So this represents how the anger works. Anger is in the mode of ignorance, tamas, and they are all in that mode. That's why when it's anger, person forget himself and he cannot have any control. And then higher authority, then what happened later by the potency of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, and actually infused and also appeared on the scene. And the Brahma even requested to Shiva that you all have to, this is not the time, you all have to sit down, you all have to, become peaceful. And then you should, then they asked, what should we do? They asked this question. So what should we do? So then Brahma advised that sit and meditate on the Supreme. And they all then, went into the forest and they sat down and meditated on the Supreme Lord. So that's the way they completely came down. Otherwise, the entire universe was burning down, devastating that much. It was started to shake because of their power and the anger and all. Yeah, so this is represents that even when a person Raudra, then they cannot even control himself. That's why we can see that person is become angry, they become blind, tamas, ignorance. Some people kill themselves, some people kill others, some people even burns the houses, everything. I mean, it's like a fire. It's like a devastating fire. It's all start from our sensual activities.
Is it in later cantos, Prabhuji, or chapters?
Yeah,
This.
it is there. Yes, it is in the later chapters. Is there?
Okay. Would you mind, Prabhuji, if you
I
share
will,
reference?
I'll share that. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I'll have to drop off if that's okay, because I have to.
Amrudananda Prabhu also. Amrudananda Prabhu, would you like to add something to that question?
Sorry, at the end of the class, I was held up at a work meeting. There are so many details. I myself am learning. I myself get astonished. I myself get bewildered. But the good thing is we have people like Simeshwar, Madhupati Prabhus, and so many Vaishnavas, so many Prabhus, Matajis, whose realization helps us navigate. But what I've understood through all this, reading our scriptures, whatever it be, there may be things which sometimes seem shocking. Sometimes it may seem contradictory. Two things which come to my mind is, one is Hari Kishore Prabhu's instruction. Scriptures are not text, scriptures are context. Meaning to say that there may be something which says A, and on the other end, some other chapter, some other canto, somewhere else, it will say B, which could be completely opposite. So we may think it is contradictory, and how is this the truth? Because scriptures are the word of God. How can it contradict ourselves? That is the importance of having Vaishnav Sangha. That is the importance of having gurus. That is the importance of having a shelter of realized people who have realizations, and they help us navigate through all this. That is one. Second is, when we read these scriptures as a discipline, when we read it, at least I find it, Prabhuji, Matajis, that the answers come to you. There may be initial doubt, there may be an initial. So the whole thing rests on how seriously, someone used the word scrutinizingly. I don't know whether it was today or yesterday, how scrutinizingly we read the scripture, how much of a habit we make of it, then it's like magic. The answers just come in. I asked Jayadvaita Maharaj a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, about we have questions. So many questions come. Of course, there's a way of asking the question, like you asked Akhilesh Prabhu, in a mood of humility and wanting to learn, not to challenge. And it is not necessary that we need to limit ourselves with a particular answer. And I asked him, would it be an offense to the Vaishnava who provided the answer supposing, I get an answer from a Vaishnava, but still that thing is nagging in my mind. So can I ask another Vaishnava? And Maharaj said, by all means do so. There is no restriction, there is no aparad, there is nothing. So the beauty of this is that a particular event or a particular instruction or whatever it be in the scripture, there are so many realizations that realized souls have. And when we try and understand, of course, we can never get a complete understanding because Krishna is infinite. We are not. So that will help us, the flavor of how this is. And then that context, it's not text, it's context. Then we have a deeper understanding. And just because I understand something today, believe me, sometime down the road, some new person may say something, or we may have a new realization. So yeah, we're very fortunate to have realized people. There's Simeshwar, who's the leader of a group, Madhupati Prabhu, Krishna Namanand Prabhu. I mean, there are so many. My God, it's all you yourself, Akhileshwar Prabhu, when you give your classes, so many things resonate. And so many, Mataji, who just shared her realization about book distribution. And the whole idea, in my opinion, my humble opinion is, Simeshwar Prabhu touched on it. Questions are the most important thing. Most important is questions. Don't feel shy. Questions is not signifying that you're dumb or silly and you don't have knowledge. No, question, Prabhupada has said, is a symptom of intelligence. And when we ask questions, it clears our doubts. It helps others also get deeper into that subject. So, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Akhilesh Prabhuji. Prabhuji needs to leave. I think Prabhuji Osh got a class. Yeah, very
Thank you
nice.
so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
So if there is nothing else, then let's conclude today's session. Nothing? Okay, so let's chant together.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The
Hare
question
Krishna.
Akhilesh Prabhu was asking, what is that question? I didn't get that because something.
Okay. This is a beautiful, nice. There is Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 12th chapter. It is mentioning Sage Maitreya advising to Vidura Maharaj, Mahatma Vidura, about the appearance of Kumaras and others. Appearance of, then it is mentioned over the 14th verses, maybe 12, 13, 14, and further. It mentions about the appearance of Rudra or Shiva. So initially Brahma created the Kumaras, and Brahma's intention was Kumaras should be engaged into the progeny to become the progenitor, and they should start the creations of living humans and other living entities. So but as soon as Kumaras were manifested, they born out of Brahma's mind, and they immediately become the great devotees, and they started to Brahmavadis, of course, and Brahma requested start progeny, and they immediately straight away said, no, we are not going to do that. We have a higher purpose, that we are going to go and take a vows of celibacy, and we are going to meditate on the Supreme, and they just kind of went away, and Brahma got anger. Brahma got very much angry. So then that anger developed within the Brahma, and the reason is that, of course, Brahma is the first living entity, as well as the Brahma is the predominant deity of mode of passion, and of course, any living entity in this world are affected by these modes of material nature, that is Sattva-guna, Rajo-guna, Tamo-guna. Because of that, Brahma developed this anger within himself, and that anger manifested through the space between the eyebrows of Brahma, and that's where the Rudra, or a boy, manifested, of course. This boy started to cry, and in such a great deal of and then asked, what is my name, what is my, where should I reside, what is my mission. So Brahma mentioned that because of you so much anxiously cried, your name will be Rudra, and you will be, your residence will be in 8 places. That's earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the mind and the senses and the austerity. These 8 places, that means, and the life, air, and fire. And so it's mentioned that Rudra is basically the anger, or it says as Rudra principle, or Rudra Tattva. Rudra Tattva is basically the anchor and anger. So it is mentioned that that's why when somebody become angry, they are breathing heavily. Their eyes got very much red hot. When the fire become angry, they are very devastating. When the air getting angry, they would be very much devouring. And the earth getting angry, there are earthquakes and so many other things. And the air and the life air, when the air gets angry, there are tornadoes and hurricanes. These are all basically the Rudra principles, or Tattva of the Rudra, because of Rudra means, the bone itself has an angry or anger principles. So then Rudra further expanded as another like 11 and 11,000, there are so many numbers of it. They expanded like anything. That's the plenary portions of that same Rudra manifested so many others. So they all became immediately, because they don't know what to do, and by their original nature is actually in the mode of in the tamasic nature. So they started to fight, they started to dance with such an anger, and they kind of started to shake the entire universe. And it's for quite some time, not that just immediately just this did, but for quite some times. And this is actually bewildered all the other, higher, beings, and the Lord appeared on the scene, instructed Brahma to pacify them, and then Brahma somehow managed to pacify the Shiva and the Rudras, and then told them that, you should sit down and you should meditate upon the Supreme Lord. And they agreed, because of they considered Brahma is their father. And they took that words and they started to meditate upon the Supreme Lord for so many thousands years. And that's what is mentioning. That was mentioning that time. Okay, was that?
Hare Krishna.
Was it?
Yes,
Was it
yes,
clear?
it's clear,
Okay.
Prabhuji. It's clear, and I want to share this one. Like when there is a dark, there should be definitely a light. There should be definitely a one sunlight. So the same way, when there is a tamoguna, there should be at least this sattva-guna. So sattva-guna, the same thing. Like what example is for one mother, if the people are one is born, like one is into army and one is into deity worship and all. So what is it mentioned in the sense, like what I'm going to say, this tamoguna should be there in other side. Like for Lord Krishna, I feel like it's just the other day Mataji was telling, Lord Krishna's backside is Maya. So Maya, Maya Devi has to be there. So when she is there, only like some of the things will be resolved. So, but we should not, in the one house, we cannot fight every day. So first we try for this Sattva-guna. Sattva-guna is a very, very purity that we achieve and we go to the transcendental. And Tamoguna is what, like, for the same mother, for sisters of this Titi and Aditi, they are Rakshasas, demons, and also gods born. So the same way, like when there is a dark, what I mean to say, Tamoguna is also present. That is to show us. Everything is to show us. This is the playing of a mind. We need to understand what is good and what is bad. This is the way.
I think, there should be a, I'm not denying the fact, but the way we need to understand that is, this is all part of the modes of material nature. There is a nature has 3 qualities, right?
Yes, yes.
Nature
Yes,
has 3
take
qualities.
That's right.
Sattva-guna is there, Rajoguna is there, and Tamoguna is there.
Tamoguna.
Yes, so this Tamoguna, tamas means darkness. So the tamas means darkness or ignorance. There is a greater definition for that. So that is also there. And where it's come from? Devi Yaksha Gunamai. It is come from the potency of the Lord. So there's no doubt into that. It's just a part of the potency, that's what it is. So this inferior nature, that's Prakriti, Shakti, inferior nature is divided into three. And this all comes from, this is the center of this modes of nature is come from the egocentric principle. Egocentric. That means we say false ego. So this whenever there is an I, that means it's further divided into three. I means good, I means passion, I means, ignorance. So sometimes what happens, this ignorance is more dominant. Sometimes passion is more dominant. Sometimes goodness is prominent. So when passion is more dominant, ignorance is more dominant, they start to behave accordingly. Yes. So this is, as it says that darkness is an absence of light. But darkness is there, that's a reality. That is, it's actually in this material world, darkness is created by the Brahma. So we'll see that in the Bhagavatam, darkness is created by Brahma. So, but
unless Ravana is there, Sri Ram got like this is to show us everything what we have to understand the nature of all this Tamoguna and Rajoguna. And when we go into that, in the depth of that, then we can understand about all this, why this all came and why these demons are there and the gods and
because of yes, it's a part of modes, and that's what is our desire, and that's why when we are so much involved into this mode of ignorance or activities of in the darkness, we are all in that category of asuric or demoniac, and all those. So that is there, definitely that is there. So when sun is there, darkness is not there, likes
darkness
that.
Is on. Yes.
So when we are adopting, when we engage in the loving devotional service, then Maya have least effect. If you don't, Maya has superior power. That's all. It's a right thing. Where there is
one more thing I want to add is Maya Devi. She's playing a role when person is taking this Bhagavad Gita to home, and when she's playing a role, Lord is punishment. If he is going to severe accident, instead of that severe accident, that Bhagavad Gita, when it went to their house, maybe it's a small accident, it went off. Like Corona affected and it goes off. But the thing is, severe has to be done. But when the Gita is there, like Satvaguna, when they read this Gita, they may be getting only the few things. Like what I'm saying is, instead of accident and dying, they may got some small accident, like small effect.
Another way to
what
see
we
that.
can say. Yes.
Another way to see that is something big happened that's just gone away, just touched upon it. I mean, there are many ways to see that, all these aspects. I mean, yes, exactly. You brought that point of when there is sun, there is no darkness, like that. When there is devotion to Krishna, then the Maya's potency is affected very least. But when there is no devotion, there is nothing, then Maya's potency is dominant. So then
same way, the mother side effect is more. Maya Devi is more, and here the daughter has taken with somehow she got that, at least she could take it home and she gave back to her again. What is that? Like she was in a good mood, and when she took home and mother taught, like mother is the main guru for every child. So what she felt, and she felt like Corona affected. But maybe with that Corona, they didn't die, but they are just got the Corona and they'll cured. But they didn't understand. So we need to explain, Mataji, if at all, if you get this type of things, maybe if they say like they quarreled and all, you can say like this, maybe it got with little one and it went off. So everyone in every house, when we light up the stove, every house they have some problems. So every house they have to face. But when they come to this Satvaguna, to Lord Krishna, surrendering, then they may get like less perfect. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no problem. No, that's okay. That's okay. I think Akhilesh Prabhu also mentioned that is, let's prasadam has such a potency. So such devotees, such people. I think initially giving them prasadam and other aspects instead of, if they have some concerns, we should respect that. We are not forcing anything. If they have any kind of concerns, we should hear and respect. But of course, we pray to Krishna so that one day, someday, they will understand, they will transform, they'll have that purification, and then all takes time. So yeah, I mean, it's Sugrudi is there, so it takes time to fructify. It's not that overnight they'll all become devotees. No, this never happens like that. Okay, so let's conclude then today's session. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Thank you all for your realizations, sharing so many. It's so nice. Each and every devotee has such a beautiful understanding and sharing each other, and this is wonderful. This is wonderful. So let's conclude. If there is nothing else, let's conclude with our prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhasya Prabhasanti Patidanam Pavanebhyo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Yo
Namaha.
namo
Vaishnava ki
Vindaki
Jai
Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai
Jai
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai
Jai
Nanda Kodi Vaishnava ki Jai
Jai.
Gaura Premanande Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari 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 Bol.
Thank you so much,
Hari.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Hari
you.
Bol. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.